Nothing? Oh, here we go. I think it's coming up now. Hey everybody, this is Dr. Glenn, and welcome to Dr. Glenn Live, Tuesdays at 12:30. And today we're going to talk about sleep and the brain. And, a lot of times people don't realize just how important sleep is actually for your brain. We think all kinds of other complicated things. And so a lot of times we take sleep for granted because it's sort of a, kind of a simple thing. But what I want to talk to you about is, first of all, why sleep is important to the brain, what constitutes good sleep, some things that can help cause you to not get good sleep, and then some things that you can do to try to sleep better. So the very first thing, and I've got a little benefits of sleep thing that I'm going to pop up here. So what happens when you're sleeping? And before I go to this, let me say this. A lot of times people, first of all, they don't appreciate how important good sleep is. As a matter of fact, a lot of people, especially like businessmen, they tend to think that it's like a virtue or a benefit or an asset or something to be able to get by or exist on a little sleep. It is not a virtue or an asset to be able to exist on a little bit of sleep. You might be able to function, but the things that sleep does for you will get left off the agenda. And one thing is, as much as we think we can catch up on the weekends, you can't catch up. So let's talk about the benefits of sleep, and then we'll talk about what constitutes good sleep. When you sleep, there are two main things that happen, especially relevant to your brain. And the first one here you see is something called the glymphatic system. That's kind of a weird word, glymphatic. But if you know anything about how the body gets rid of waste and stuff like that, you have this thing called your lymph system. And what the glymphatic system does, it's sort of like your waste disposal system, or, it's like, I don't know about in your neighborhood, but in my neighborhood, we put the garbage out, on Tuesday night, usually, or first thing Wednesday morning, because they come through on Wednesday morning and they collect all the garbage. Well, every night when you go to sleep, your glymphatic system, it comes through and it cleans out the garbage in your brain, actually in your whole body, but especially in your brain, and since that's what we're talking about. And this actually occurs when you're in the deep phase of sleep. So you want to make sure that not only are you getting plenty of sleep, but you're also getting into that deep phase. We'll talk a bit more about that in just a minute. There's another thing that happens when you're sleeping, and that is what we call solidifying or consolidating memories. And what happens in memory is this. You have something called working memory. And working memory is like it stays right in the front of your brain in this part here called the frontal cortex. And if somebody walks up to you and they says, "Hi, my name's Bob," or "I'm Bob and I grew up in Dallas," well, that would be an example of your working memory. If you said, "Oh, hi, Bob, I've been to Dallas as well." Okay, so that's memory that's right up here in the front. When you go to sleep, that memory moves from the front of your brain back through your temporal lobe into a place called your hippocampus. Maybe you've heard of the hippocampus. It's a part of the brain that is often involved in shrinkage and in memory loss problems as we age. It's very vulnerable to certain things. So when you sleep, you take working memory from the day that as the day has gone along and Bob told you he was from Dallas, and you would turn that into a longer term memory if you wanted to, and that would go back into your temporal lobe and into your hippocampus, and then it gets filed away into a filing cabinet. So when you sleep, you take out the trash and you turn short-term working memory into longer-term memories. So those are two big things that happen when you sleep. Now, let me move on, or let's do this. Let's talk about what constitutes good sleep. And this is sort of the way I talk about it with my patients in the office. There are two criteria for good sleep as far as I'm concerned with my patients and their cognitive health. The first thing is falling asleep. You should be able to lie down at what I call a reasonable hour. Now, what is a reasonable hour? I don't know. It depends on, what time you get up. A reasonable hour might be 9:30, 10 o'clock. If you're an early riser, you like to get up and work out first thing in the morning or whatever. Or a reasonable hour for you might be, say, 10, 10:30 or 11 o'clock if you're a later riser. But a reasonable hour would be sometime in that late evening. You should be able to lie down and within 10, 15 minutes or so, go to sleep. All right. Now, some people like to get in bed and read for a little bit. And if you normally get in bed and read, that's fine. But you should be able to fall asleep easily in a reasonable amount of time. So personally, I get in bed, I read. My wife says I read the same paragraph 3 times and then I'm asleep. I go to sleep pretty quick. But, I might get in bed, read a few pages. I can feel it nodding off, turn off the light, bam, I'm gone. That's falling asleep easily. If you get in bed and you have to keep the TV on, you turn off the lights and you lay there for 45 minutes to an hour before you fall asleep, something's happening. Something's happening that's keeping you from falling asleep easily. And that's usually either some stimulation thing that's going